Lightfoot with Worley and Associates and the Lightfoot Youngblood team. We're coming today live from one of our active listings located at 103 Garber Lane at Stonebridge in Branson, Missouri. It's cabin number 135. I have to tell you about this cabin because it is awesome. It's brand new construction, completely furnished for $349.9. And the owner, he finished this construction in July, and we are looking at, he's already grossed $18,000 in income this year. So this is a little hot commodity here. We back up to the woods, and there are tons of amenities. We're right around the corner from a zero-entry pool, live a volleyball and playgrounds, also a catch and release lake with lots of trails. So if you guys want more information on that property, you can always look it up online at bransonhomefinder.com, or shoot us an instant message, or even give us a call and we can get you more information, or even get you in for a showing of the property. I have a special guest with us today. This is Michelle Youngblood, and Michelle is with State Farm Insurance. And Michelle owns her own vacation rental properties as well. And I brought Michelle on so we could talk a little bit about insurance, what the different types of insurances are, and just some really good information for y'all. And one thing I do have to mention, a disclaimer: there has been no monetary exchange between Michelle and I for this, no advertisement, is that what I'm supposed to say? There's, we are doing this for educational and informational purposes only, just to help you all out with your businesses. So today, one of the things that I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about a few things before we get into it too deep with Michelle, is, you know, we have a lot of different types of zoning, different types of properties that are out there on the market, and we have clients that come in from out of state, and I have clients from all over the nation who come to Branson, Missouri, and they may be used to zoning regulations, zoning laws in their current hometowns, home states, or even in other states that they invest in. And one thing that is important to keep in mind is it doesn't matter, you know, if you're buying a property in California, Colorado, Branson, Missouri, in Florida, we all have different types of regulations. And also we call properties different things in different locations. So, you know, keep that in mind. You definitely want to hire a professional and an expert when you are looking at an investment. Somebody who knows your area, keeps up with the local and state regulations, any changes in municipalities. You definitely want to ask questions when you're interviewing. You know, interview a few different realtors when you are building your power team in the locations that you're investing. You know, this is a business, and it is something, even if it's a vacation home for you, and you're just looking to pay for itself, it's an investment, and it can be a very expensive investment if you don't do it correctly. So some of the things I want to talk about today are condos, detached condos, single family properties, and commercial properties. Now, condominiums, we have a lot of them in Branson, Missouri. When we had the big boom in the 80s and 90s, condos went up all over the place. And there's folks that come into town, they'll buy a condo, and then they'll just start doing Airbnb or VRBO, which is great. It's their prerogative. Know the covenants and restrictions. Know your bylaws. Just because it's a condominium doesn't mean that you can rent it out on a nightly basis. They may have restrictions already in place that specifically say no vacation rentals, no nightly rentals, no rentals less than 30 days. And so, you know, keep that in mind when you're looking at properties. My main thing is, especially when you get into lending, and that's going to be a whole separate segment, because that's just a whole another conversation on its own, and we'll have a lender come in and talk with y'all as well. But one thing to keep in mind is this property that we're at currently, it's a cabin, and it's an awesome place. It's detached. It sits on its own. You have cabins that are surrounding it. It's a great little woodsy environment. But a lot of people don't realize that this is considered a detached condominium. And they have this as a detached condominium to keep you in the specific rules, regulations, covenants, and restrictions is this portion of the resort. So all of the cabins around us, this is just one example of a detached condo. And different associations will have different rules on what they cover in regards to what you need to insure on your property. You may have in a detached condominium, you may be responsible for the whole structure, just like a single family property. You're responsible for the roof, the siding, the decks, inside, outside, everything. But as a detached condo, you may only own the footprint that property sits on. Everything else around it is a common element, and that is what the association takes care of. That's what your association dues go towards. If you're paying $120 a month, whatever it is, that's taking care of maybe the roads and the common elements around your property. Other detached condominiums, on the other hand, you may only insure, just like a condo, the studs end of the property, and the association may take care of everything from the studs out. I can tell you here at this association, or this specific portion of the resorts association, they do take care of the roofs, the siding, the spindles and railings of the decks, and there's a few other little pieces of the structure they take care of. So when you're insuring it, there's a few little pieces that they don't, so it's going to make a difference on your insurance, and that's something we'll talk about with Michelle. And then residential family. That's a big question, in regards to, can I buy a house and just do a vacation rental in it? No. The answer is no. You cannot do that legally. You need to definitely check with your municipalities. Again, very important to build your power team. That's a word that you will hear me use probably on every segment. You're going to want to make sure that you have a CPA, an attorney, a realtor, a cleaning crew, maintenance, a property manager, even possibly. You'll have to excuse me, I'm being attacked by a bee. Essential oils, they love them. No more outside Facebook Lives. I lost my train of thought. Single family. So the single family properties, you definitely need to have your power team put together, and have your power team full of experts that know your area. And one of the things that my team specifically, the Lightfoot Youngblood team at Worley and Associates, do is we keep up on all of these rules, regulations, municipality changes. So we know exactly where you can and cannot do vacation rental, what the process is to be able to obtain a permit to do nightly rental, or what process you have to go through depending on what municipality you're in to change zoning. So again, that's exactly why you need someone on your side that knows what's going on. So it doesn't have to be hard or complicated. This process actually can be very easy and rewarding for you. So residential family, there are going to be some properties that come on the market, and they say that they are zoned vacation rental. So most importantly, you're going to want to know, is that property in the city limits what city are they in, or are they in the county? Because if they're in a county, you have a permit. It's not zoned for nightly rental. It's permitted on a special use permit for nightly rental. And the nightly rental permit is non-transferable. So there is a process that you have to go through with the county to make sure that everything is legally done before you close on the property. And that is something we can help you through as well on letting you know what steps to take, and making sure that your contract is contingent and has the contingencies you need to protect you when buying a property and investing. Commercial properties. Can you do nightly rental in commercial properties? Again, depends on where you're located. If you're in the city, in the county, there's all different types of rules. But rule of thumb, if it's in a high density area, for example in Branson, and I always highly recommend that you call and talk to a planning zoning official before buying a property, and making sure that that property, if it's being advertised as a commercial property, definitely has the density or the zoning that you need to make sure that you can perform the business that you're wanting to perform. There may be permits that you need to obtain from the city. And so I have just spewed a lot of information out there to you guys. Kristen is holding my phone for me today as I left my tripod at the office. But have there been any questions that have maybe popped in? Or if anybody has questions, please put them out there. You know, ask us questions while we're here live with you. That's what we're here for. We're here to assist and add value to your business, and also to help get you guys going in the right direction. If you haven't bought a vacation rental, or you're just starting out and wanting to learn the ropes and just need some more information of where to start. And so along the way, feel free to do that. While you're at it, if you're catching me live on our Facebook page, make sure you like our Facebook page, Lightfoot and Youngblood Real Estate, Branson, Missouri. Like the page, follow us, share the video, and that way you will be notified when we go live. And we will be going live every Tuesday. So I want to go ahead and jump in with Michelle, because she doesn't have all day to sit here and talk with us. But
I wish I did. This is pretty nice here outside.
It is. It's nice and cozy. And the bee is coming around again. So I'm doing pretty good. Usually I'd be flailing like a fish. So it's pretty comical, actually. Okay, so Michelle, one of the questions that I'm asked a lot, and you know, obviously I'm not an insurance expert, so what I do is I always tell our clients, or if I have these questions come up, I send them in the direction of the professional who does this on a daily basis and who totally can take care of them. So one of the things that I'm asked all the time is, what is this type of insurance coverage called? You know, is there a difference between an investor who's going to be renting their property out, maybe it's a second home, but they're going to use it also as a nightly rental property? Is there a difference between the coverage they need to have, and what is that coverage called?
There are several different policies, so it really depends on if it is going to be a secondary home and you plan to rent it when you're not there, or if it will be purely a rental property where you will not be staying in the unit. So we have rental condo units, and we have condo units with the rental endorsement, and same thing with the home. We have a rental property or a homeowner's policy with the rental endorsement. So one of the questions we'll ask when you call is, do you plan to stay in the unit at all as the owner? And depending on that policy is how we'll gear which policy will fit you the best. We want to make sure that there is loss of income in the policy too. So that's why we're going to ask if you plan to stay in it at all, or if it's purely an investment piece.
So what is that considered in regards to if they're going to stay in the property at all? Because most people are going to stay in their property.
Sure.
You know, some of them have rules that they have to follow based off of how they've invested in the property, if it was a 1031 or if they used IRA funds. They may not be able to stay in it more than 14 days a year or something like that. But if they stay in it at all, I mean, is there a certain amount of time that they have to stay in the property to be considered like a different policy like you're talking about? Or?
Sure. Nope. As long as you plan to stay in the building at some point during that year, we're able to add the rental endorsement onto the policy.
Okay. And is that expensive?
No, it's fairly inexpensive. That's why we ask up front. I get asked that question a lot. Which one's the least expensive route? And so it's important to be upfront with your insurance agent on which policy you'll need so that all the endorsements will best fit with that policy for you.
Yeah. So when you have that endorsement in regards to the rental coverage, what does that look like if somebody were to have a loss? Let's say, they have the unfortunate, maybe a structure burns down and they have it's a full booking for the rest of the year. Maybe they have $30,000 on their books.
Right.
What does that look like? Does that cover the full loss of what they have on the books if they can prove it? Or, I mean, what happens?
They will use your books to determine your loss of income on what that will look like. So they'll either use previous years if you don't have that much experience yet on the books, or your future bookings, so they can kind of determine your nightly rate, and they'll figure that at that claim time. So you'll want to make sure that you have loss of income on that policy, as well as double checking your building coverage and your contents coverage, because you're going to want to be able to replace that building exactly like it was before the day of the loss.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Great information. So what is the difference between, I talked a little bit about condo, detached condominiums, single family that you can run as a business, and then commercial properties. Is there a difference? And if so, what are the differences in those type of structures?
Sure. The difference will be if you're responsible from the studs in, or if you're responsible for the entire unit. So that's our determining line on whether it will be a condo policy or whether it will be a rental dwelling policy or the homeowner's policy with the rental endorsement. So it really goes off of how the bylaws are written and what you're responsible for with the association.
Okay. So if I were to buy a condominium and I was responsible for everything in the studs in, and I was going to be staying in the property, a few weeks out of the year, that would be a condo policy?
Correct. It would be a condo policy. We call it an HO6 with a rental endorsement on the policy.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So this is a big one too. Is there a difference on the rate or the type of policy when you have somebody who insures the property in their legal name?
Oh, sure.
Or if they have an LLC and they have the property they've purchased in their LLC, and now they need to obtain insurance in their LLC to protect the property. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure,
what those differences
There
are?
is not a price difference at all. With our rental condos, we are able to list the LLC as the owner of the property. With our condos and homeowners that we have the rental endorsement listed on there, the physical owner's name will be listed as the named insured, but the additional insured will be listed as the LLC, and there's no extra charge for that.
Awesome. Well, those were the main questions, because those questions are what come up really the most when we're talking to clients out there in the field, or even when we have phone calls or texts that come in and emails. They're asking these type of questions. And so if I were to call in Michelle today and I said, hey, I'm buying a vacation rental property, what advice would you have to me to make sure that my property is going to be covered the best? Or how can the investors be prepared when they're making the phone call? This is their first property. They need to insure it. They really don't know what to expect. And to make the call go as smooth as possible, what can they be expected to have available for you?
Sure. So we start the process with asking about how much building coverage you're needing, whether it be just the studs in or the entire building, as well as contents coverage. But on our end, we'll talk to you about liability coverage. I think it's essential that you have at least $1 million worth of liability coverage. You're going to have a lot of folks coming in and out of that unit, so you'll want to make sure that you're covered correctly. Even for $1 million worth of coverage, that can range anywhere from $25 to $40 a year. So it's not a very expensive cost, but it will cover you when you need it. Another thing that we'll talk about is loss assessment coverage. In these policies, a lot of policies that come only with $1,000 worth of loss assessment coverage, which doesn't give you a lot if you needed it. So what happens is you're making those association due payments every month. A portion of that is allocated to the reserve fund. And when there is a total loss or a hail claim or something along those lines to a common area or to one of the buildings in an association, they'll use that reserve fund as their deductible. So they'll want to get that reserve fund back to where it was, so they will assess each unit owner a portion of that deductible. So for $1,000 worth of coverage may not give you what you need to cover that entire assessment. So to give you an example, for $25,000 worth of loss assessment coverage, it's under $15 a year. So when you call us, those are the things that we'll talk about to make sure that you're covered the way you'd like to be.
Awesome. Well, how can the folks watching us today reach you, Michelle, if they have questions specifically or they want to talk to you about their current coverage and what you could offer them?
Sure. You can contact me at DougBakerInsurance.com, and you can also call us at 417-334-6911.
Awesome. It was great having you today.
Thanks for having me.
Great information. Folks, if you want to reach us on the real estate end, of course, you can always reach us at BransonHomefinder.com or at the Lightfoot Youngblood Real Estate, Branson, Missouri on Facebook. You can also reach me, call, text, anything that's best for you, 417-251-1946. Have a great day, and I will be coming live from another property next Tuesday, and I'll have my business partner Brad Youngblood with me. He has invested in the properties within the last 2 years, started running out of the gate, and is just blowing the cover off the ball with his nightly rental investments. So you guys won't want to miss that. He can let you know how he got started and how he just jumped off the cliff and went for it. So I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great week, and call me.
We're done, but I'm like going. I'm like, is my arm shaking? I'm sorry if it's a little shaky.
Usually I'm like jumping up and I'm like.
How many times did I say property in that sentence?
I know. I have a bad thing of saying and or fantastic. One time I did a video and I said fantastic like 56 times.
Well, I'm sure it was a little shaky, but not too bad.
Oh, we
but
made
what
it.
was the fun part was other realtors were hopped on.
Oh, nice.
We had quite a few people jump on.
So it shows you when you go on it?
Yeah.
A little terrifying. Not gonna lie.
Oh, you did a great job.
So I was like,
It was great. We're still live.